Dumb.
You know what's not cringy and fucking American?
What?
Seeing a bald eagle on the way home from work.
Oh, that's badass.
Dude, it was huge. It was so pretty.
Yeah, they
It
come.
was taking off.
All right, I'll
I'm
shut
just
up.
kidding.
I'll shut up.
It was taking off, and I just felt in that moment so fucking American.
Yeah,
Listening
that is
to my
American.
hood shit music.
That is nothing more American.
Actually, it would have been more American if Creed was playing. Could you imagine that? An eagle taking off to Creed?
Oh, I can't.
Hold me now.
That is equally, if not more patriotic than the national anthem. You know?
Creed,
Hold me now.
is Creed an American band? Because I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I assumed it was.
Yeah, I'm assuming it is as well. Yeah, Scott Stapp's American.
So I was thinking, was there anything ridiculous you were afraid of as a kid that just seems so ridiculous now?
Anything ridiculous that I was afraid of? My biggest fear, obviously, was water. That's not really like a ridiculous one. There's a lot of
That's
people
a
afraid
pretty
of water.
common one.
But I got over that in my later years. When I was really little, my grandparents, they have like this really old house.
Mhm.
And in the old house, they have like a wood stove. And
Mhm.
next to the wood stove, there's this like brick box with a big like concrete slab on the top.
Yeah, I remember.
And back in like the early 1900s, late 1800s, that would be where you kept all of your coal. And then you'd have like a coal burning furnace or something in your basement, and that's what would heat your house. So what they called it was called the coal bin. And there was one day I was probably like 4 or 5. I remember trying to like open it, and the big concrete slab on the top was way too heavy for me to lift. And I don't know how this happened, but at some point I expressed to my grandparents that I was really afraid of like getting stuck in there and not being able to like lift the concrete slab up.
Mhm.
So whenever I was bad and my grandparents needed to like discipline me, they would tell me they were going to put me in the coal bin. They never once put me in the coal bin, but they just had to tell me, we're going to put you in the coal bin, and I would freak out. I'd start behaving. I just was like terrified of getting put in the coal bin and then not being able to lift the concrete slab. That was like, I guess maybe that's claustrophobia. I guess I was just
Yeah.
claustrophobic,
Yeah.
but my grandparents used that as like a motivator for me instead of like hitting me or something, you know?
Yeah, I was watching some stuff, which I don't think claustrophobia is a ridiculous fear. I get it. I think I am claustrophobic. I was watching like some cave diving videos like underwater where they had to like squeeze between two crevices but underwater.
Uh,
And they're doing it without like scuba tanks or anything. This is like just and I'm like, that is insane. Who does that? Who signs up for that?
yeah, that's anything underwater. Like that's the combination of my
Mhm.
two fears, water and claustrophobic.
I
That's
don't
insane.
get how people work on submarines.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. A part of me feels like you don't really realize you can kind of put it out of your mind that you're out of water. Like you're just in this like
Yeah, but mine isn't the water thing.
yeah.
For me, submarines are tight and cramped, and then it's the isolation of like you do know you're underwater, and
Yeah.
you hear all those stories of like.
See,
Plus, I grew up watching U-571, which is a terrifying movie.
oh yeah.
Have you seen it with Matthew McConaughey?
I actually haven't, but I know what movie you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
it's a good movie, but like it terrified me because it's like two submarines bombing each other.
Oh
They
my
end
God,
they
yeah.
end up on another submarine that's not American, and then they almost get like taken out by an American ship.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. I wasn't a submariner when I was in the Navy, but I have been on a couple submarines,
Mhm.
and the older ones, I could see getting claustrophobic. Like, they're just so cramped, so tight. Like, they're laid out super weird, and it's just this most uncomfortable thing. But the newer ones, like the Virginia class ones, those are like actually pretty spacious
Oh,
in
okay.
comparison. And you get on them, and you're like, oh, this ain't bad.
Yeah.
You know, they have like actually big person-sized hallways. You're not like crawling down a hallway or anything like that.
Unlike you, I did have a ridiculous fear as a kid.
Oh, well, what was it?
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs?
Ladybugs.
Yeah.
It became my mom used to tell me that if I saw even one, I would throw myself on the ground and like scream. And then when I was 5, I had to get like my first vaccinations before like going into elementary school. And I had to get a shot. And this is probably my first like memorable experience of getting a shot at that age. And I screamed before the lady even put the needle in my arm.
Did you just scream to her like, "This is an experimental vaccination"?
No. I was I was 5. I was terrified of the needle.
Yeah, sure.
But I remember my grandma bought me a little like couch pillow that had ladybugs on it because I did so good getting my shot. I did not do good. I like screamed and cried before the woman even pricked my arm. Like I was just, but yeah, I was terrified of ladybugs. And my grandparents' house had a lot of them. And I think like later I learned they weren't actual ladybugs. They're
Yeah.
those
There's some
beetles of some
there's some
sort.
invasive
Yeah.
beetles that gets into people's house. Like, I had a friend's house the same way. Like he
And
just
they're
had
more
them all over.
orangish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they smell.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
afraid
they
of them though.
smell. Oh, I was terrified, petrified, mortified, stupefied
See, me
by
being a little
ladybugs.
kid and I went to my friend's house that had all the ladybugs, I was like, I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, he's got ladybugs all over his house. That's so much better than like ants that were like at my house. It's an upgrade.
I just remember a time where Audrey, Troy, and I sat around an anthill and smashed them and ate them.
Damn. That's Jesus.
just black ants. We were smashing and eating them. I don't know why.
You ate an ant? I think I ate an ant once,
I-
like on a dare. But I've never done it as like a group activity with my
It
siblings.
might have been like a 3-way dare where we all dared each other, or it was like, I will if you will. I don't know what prompted it, but I have this vivid memory of us all sitting around an anthill at the pet cemetery property and eating ants.
That's pretty cool.
It's not cool. Like how I just slipped in the pet cemetery property nonchalantly.
Oh yeah, no.
It
I
was
didn't
never
even-
creepy. Like until later.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I've known about the pet cemetery property that you grew up on as a
Mhm.
kid, but like I've never actually like really thought about it. That's such an interesting place to grow up. Like growing
Yeah.
up on a pet cemetery. Like I wonder why you love Halloween so much. Like your
No,
childhood
the
is just
Halloween thing is because of my grandma, hands down. She always made it so
yeah. And
fun.
who owned the pet cemetery?
My grandpa.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like
but it wasn't because of that. Like it was actually a good extra source of income for him,
yeah.
and he liked doing it. I also think he bought the property like that.
Oh,
Like
like
it
he
was,
bought the cemetery.
yeah, I
straight
think it
out?
was
Yeah.
because it was called. Well, I don't want to say what it was called, but it had its name before he owned it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, obviously there's that movie, The Pet Cemetery. So I mean, I think if you ever just bring up Pet Cemetery, people automatically think haunted and creepy.
Yeah, but if you watch that movie, like that's different because there's an extra factor that people don't think of when you hear Pet Cemetery. But that Pet Cemetery in the movie was on an Indian burial ground.
Oh yeah.
And that's how like it started that if you bury things they come back, but they don't come back right. You know, and they tested it with a cat and then their child was hit by like a semi truck.
And they buried her in the Pet Cemetery.
Him, I think it was a boy.
They buried him in the Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, because
Because he was a pet.
they had a cat that came back.
Oh.
But they don't come back right, and then the little boy or girl, I can't remember, murders the whole family.
Oh, that's crazy. I've actually never seen that movie either.
Well,
I haven't seen a
you're
lot
not
of
big
movies.
scary movie person.
Not even just a scary movie person. Like growing up, my parents they weren't like anti-movie, but my parents don't watch movies at all. So I never saw anything until I was like
Yeah.
a teenager on my own, like trying to see stuff.
Yeah, I think part of it's have to have the attention span for a movie.
Yeah,
Like you have to understand you're committing to it.
couple hours.
Yeah, because you don't want to stop it in the middle of the movie.
Yeah,
You're a heathen if you do that.
yeah. Like the only movies that like I went to a couple movies with my dad and stuff, but the bulk of the movies I went to go see with other people. Like
Yeah.
my parents weren't big
remember-
movie people.
I remember thinking how cool it was the first time I got to go to the movie theaters, like with just friends and
Oh,
not
yeah.
parents. I remember how cool that was. But now I just don't like movie theaters, partially because they're overpriced.
Yeah.
But mostly because I don't know, it just feels.
I would much rather watch a movie in the comfort of my own home
Yeah.
than like a public place, though. Too.
Yeah. But yeah, I like movies, but I grew up watching movies.
What
So
was the first movie you saw? Like, do you know the first movie
it
you went
had
to
to
go
be a
see?
Disney movie. Oh, to go and see? Oh,
I don't remember this, but my parents tell me about it all the time. They took me to go see the Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol,
yeah.
and I only lasted like 20 minutes in it, and there was like a scene in the beginning where Mickey cried, and I just freaked out because I loved Mickey, and I freaked out that they were mean to Mickey and he cried. So my dad had to like take me out of the theater, and then we went and saw The Little Mermaid instead. So The Little Mermaid
Yeah.
was the first like movie I like fully saw.
I never liked Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Mickey Mouse when I was little. Mickey Mouse and then Winnie the Pooh.
I always thought that was kind
Yeah.
of creepy. Like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I just thought it was creepy. And I think it's more creepy that Mickey Mouse doesn't look like a mouse. He looks like an abomination. Because, like, that's not what I think of when I think of a mouse. Why is he black and white? Have you ever seen a black and
Well,
white mouse?
he's black and white because the original like cartoons were in black and white.
Yeah, but when you adapt, you could have still made him gray and white. That would have been more mouse-like.
Yeah, maybe.
Or brown. I don't know. It freaks me out. I just don't. And the way he talks.
Oh yeah,
Freaks
the way
me out.
everybody talks in Disney is insane.
Just thinking about elementary school, do you remember having like any like weird teachers or just in general through your schooling?
Strange teachers.
Yeah, like or unusual, just like even if it's like just quirky.
There was when I was in 7th grade, my science teacher. I won't drop her name,
Mhm.
but my 7th grade science teacher. She was an old lady. She was probably like 70, and she rode a motorcycle to work every day.
That's badass.
Yeah, she was a badass. She was this little old, like, gray-haired lady.
Oh my god,
Literally
that's
probably
awesome.
70 years old, and yeah, she rode a motorcycle to school every day.
That's sick.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not even. That's awesome. I guess that would count as
Yeah.
unusual, but
Yeah, she was cool.
in 3rd grade we had a teacher that drove a yellow bug, so a Volkswagen bug,
Mhm.
and with like permission slips and stuff, like if you were like student of the week or whatever, she took and she'd take like 3 of us to like McDonald's on our lunch break. Like
What?
yeah,
How old were you?
3rd grade.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Which is weird nowadays, but it was like a normal thing she had always done, and there was permission slips for it.
Oh,
But
okay.
we always would get to like, and you only go once. Like she makes sure every kid gets student of the week or whatever it is, and it was always multiple people. It wasn't like one on one with the teacher.
Yeah.
But we all thought it was cool because we're all sitting in the back of a bug, and it was just cool. And then we're going to McDonald's, which is awesome as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
And
cool.
she paid for it. Like it was just something cool she did. And then I had a 5th grade teacher, and after school was over, because he couldn't do it during the school year, he'd send out a postcard to like your house, and you got to go up in his airplane. He had a 2-person plane, and yeah, your parents would bring you, and you could go up in the airplane. And he like lets you control it, but of course he still has control of it and
Hmm.
stuff.
Dude, that's awesome. And I didn't have any cool teachers like
Yeah,
that.
dude, that's so cool. But I was in 5th grade my first time like up in a plane. It
Yeah,
was cool.
I've never been in like a little plane like that.
It was so cool. But like I think my parents had an appreciation for it because my grandparents were pilots. My grandma and grandpa had their pilot's license.
Really?
Yeah, for like a 2-person plane.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
But like this was before I was around.
Mm.
Like it was never.
I'd love to get my pilot's
Yeah,
license.
but they went into like they just had like an airfield, and I don't know if they owned a plane or rented a plane, but they could fly.
Hmm.
I took pilot's lessons.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll do that one day.
I'm sure it was easier back then though too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, to get your private pilot's license, that's
Yeah,
not
that's
too
true.
terrible. Just about anybody can do that. I want to fly helicopters.
I know.
That'd be so sick. You know, like one thing when I was getting out of the military, we had Southern Utah University came. When you get out of the military, you go to like this. It's called like a transition course, Like some guy comes, he tells you how to make resumes, how to like market yourself when you're out. Like it's basically just to like help you kind of like get a job and get your foot out the door once you get out. But they had some people come and talk to us. They had like the environmental service come and like the forest service, like people trying to like, places you could potentially be employed coming right out of the military. But Southern Utah University, they have like a helicopter pilot program that veterans benefits pay for. It's one of the only programs in the country that do that. And they were really kind of talking up like, yeah, this is like a perfect program for veterans. Like you can come out straight through from not flying to being hired as a pilot. Like it's a 2-year course. And one thing that the guy was telling me about is helicopters, like in a sense, they're a little safer than fixed wing because if you're way up in the air and the engine dies, when the helicopter falls, the like the gravity of like
Mm-hmm.
the helicopter falling will actually rotate the propeller,
Mm-hmm.
so you just glide down. So you
Mm-hmm.
can so they'll actually do that in all like helicopter courses. Is one of the things you have to do is you go up to like the couple thousand feet wherever it's at, then they cut the engines and you have to glide it down, and that's like a safety thing. Like if your engine ever dies, you have to be able to like land it with a dead engine. But I was thinking about that, and I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. That's good to know. Because, like, if you're flying, that's such a
Yeah.
terrifying fear, just being up there and just your engine dies, and you're like, well, because then you also have time to, like, think about dying. You're like, well, I'm going to die, you know? But I don't know. It's
Mm.
interesting to me.